Okay, so I'll go over a few little differences, a few details that I didn't do in the previous video. These are 2.3-inch machines that I have in my yard right now. When these come in, we do some assembly. The frame is generally not attached to the drum, so it'll fit in the container. So the drum gets attached to the frame on the black turntable bearing with some bolts. And things like the jack have to be put on, stabilizer legs have to be put on. One of the things we bring in as a standard on our machines, optional from the factory, is that we use groove pipe. There's grooves lengthwise on the pipe from the factory so that the pipe slides on the ground easier with less friction, and that makes the hose easier to pull in for the machine. Which reduces your friction loss on the turbine. You have to use less power, less friction, less water pressure. Let's see, the sprinkler carts are adjustable. The cross tube is bolted onto the riser. The riser is got a nice gentle bend, again for friction loss, flow nice and smooth, no sharp angles. The cross tube, the legs get bolted into the cross tube. They go inside and set with a set bolt, and you can adjust the width of the cart this way. You can pull this out and make the cart wider. You can also adjust the height, again with a set screw and a pin on this one. So you can make the cart higher or lower. Several adjustment holes on that. This one, it has solid rubber tires for weight with heavy duty steel discs that are galvanized. Solid shaft with some bearings. The heavier wheel keeps the cart from tipping over. Sometimes if you have a really big gun with lots of pressure, you might have to add some weights, concrete weights or steel weights to the cart and set it out as wide as you can. Those are all options. The bigger the machine, in general, the bigger the tires. There's options on that if you want to go oversized tires. Galvanized wheels. The axles are solid steel square stub axles. They get bolted into the frame, kind of like the sprinkler cart. And this frame has two positions. We've got it in the upper position to lower the frame. You could take this axle out and insert it down into the bottom hole and tighten the screws down on the bottom and raise the frame a couple inches. And you can also adjust the width so you can have a wider, more stable machine in the field. If you need to transport it down a narrow road, you could loosen those bolts up and narrow it up. The stabilizer jacks don't come on the drum usually to fit in the container, so those need to be put into the tubes and assembled with pins. Easy to do. The little drum mounts the machine again with a pin. The one nice feature on these machines is the hub that goes into the inlet for the drum. This flange is bolted on with a nipple that's welded on that comes through the bearing, and a lot of factories will weld this onto the drum. So if you have any wear or problems, whether it's just because it's old and worn out or because something happens and something goes wrong, if you need to replace this nipple, you might have to do some cutting and welding on your machine unless it has a flange that's bolted on like this. This bearing doesn't even have a grease point. There's several grease points on the machine. This is one of them. There's a self-lubricating plastic seal here. It has O-rings on it that go inside to keep it from leaking to the elbow here. This is a piece that we keep in stock. Haven't sold many, but eventually that can wear out because it's sitting there turning, or that's turning on the nipple. But that's a nice feature on this machine, is the replaceable hub. Let's see. There's a brake band down here. Kind of typical, you do grease that brake band, otherwise it gets too tight. It is adjustable, but that keeps the machine from spinning backward, spinning too fast, freewheeling. They provide a nice high quality tough skin pressure gauge on the machine, of course. And if you have a shutoff kit, one way to install that is to put a butterfly valve in this position to turn the water on and off, and you'd have a sensor hooked up to the bar that comes in. When the machine comes in, when the cart comes in, it loads itself on top of this bar, as you see here, and that raises the bar, which pushes this tube, which pushes this forward, which engages this rod and disengages the gearbox. That stops the gear from turning, the drum from turning, but you could also hook up a switch here on this bar that would tell the machine that it came in, tell the computer that it came in, and the computer would shut down the valve on the shutoff kit. The crown gear is welded to the frame, or to the drum, I should say. This one is a one layer, not 2 layers. There's 2 layers of crown gear there. And they're segmented, and the segments overlap. So you see a seam there, but not on the bottom. Until you get to the next one, there'll be a seam on the bottom somewhere on the next one. But if you damage the crown gear, you would need to do some cutting and welding, but it comes in segments. So instead of shipping a gear that's like 3 or 4 or 5 feet in diameter, you can ship segments that are UPSable. So that's some of the details of these machines. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.